Under students, Mr. Williams back. Going to break down for you now civil law and criminal law, two major categories here that can be studied and practiced inside of our American judicial, sorry, slur my words here, judicial system. All right. Criminal law. Here we're talking about breaking laws established by various levels of government. So it could be, again, a municipality, all right, so like a city, okay, the city of Seneca, the city of Topeka, the city of Dodge City. It could be county, so Nemaha County. It could be state, the state of Kansas, a law established by our government, our state government in Topeka. Or it could be a federal law, a national law, okay, something that was passed inside of D.C. by our American Congress. So when you have broken a law, it depends upon, again, at what level the law was broken, where the law was established, created in terms of levels, okay, and just how severe of a crime you committed. We consider the breaking of a law to be a crime against society, a crime against humanity. Now, speeding, breaking the speed limit, okay, you are committing a crime. However, it would be considered an infraction. All right, congrats. You have committed a crime against humanity, against society. But again, let's keep things in proper context and perspective. You were speeding and you broke the law. It's considered an infraction, okay? So kind of a low-level crime, if you will. Typically, that results in a fine if it becomes habitual, if it's something that you've done routinely, or if you were, excessive with the speed at which you were traveling, it could be a greater level of crime that could be have committed or could have been committed. You could be punished for. Okay, misdemeanors. We're talking about items that are usually like battery, patronizing of prostitutes. Usually, you're going to get jail time. Most likely, also have to pay some type of fine. You're at least going to cover the cost of the state effectively, prosecuting you for committing that crime against society, okay? And then finally, we get to some of the nastiest, worst crimes, okay? True crimes against humanity, society itself. Items like rape, financial fraud, defrauding of someone or some entity, murder. You're going to face jail time and potentially, depending upon the state, depending upon the severity of the crime committed, death, all right? So criminal law, three kinds effectively. And again, dependent upon the source, I know we're trying to oversimplify it here, but dependent upon the source, you might have a different classification. But we got infractions, misdemeanors, and felonies. Civil law. We're getting into law that is kind of describing the contractual legal relationships amongst individuals or parties, so maybe groups of individuals. Civil cases are all about resolving disputes. Okay, so you've had a disagreement, a legal disagreement. You had a legally binding relationship with something, someone, some business, some entity, and there has been a dispute. So you might file a civil case against this person, and then our American judicial system is built to mediate, all right, judge, provide justice for that civil dispute. The main goal is always righting the wrong, and often that involves property or money, okay? Divorce is the most common civil action inside the United States of America. You enter into, again, whatever state you may get married in, a contract, okay? A contract. And why is it a contract? Well, because when it comes to the national and or state or local governments, you get tax breaks. You get tax breaks for being married, or you can file jointly. So the government gets involved in the area of marriage because you are legally, contractually becoming one entity, financially speaking, okay? So when it's time to divorce, things can get ugly. Who owns what? Who gets to keep this or that? So civil law spends a lot of its time resolving disputes when it comes to the two individual parties, looking for dispute resolution at the dissolution of a marriage. Okay. More often than not, the punishment, because you probably aren't going to go behind bars, right? It's not a criminal case. Okay. Punishment or retribution, the righting of that wrong comes in compensation. All right. So you have been hurt. you suffered emotional distress, or you do have legitimate medical costs that need to be covered, or years of inability to financially make gains yourself, okay, because of this wrong that you suffered. So you might throw out there to the judge, hey, I'm looking for X amount of money to make up for all of the wrongs that have been, committed against me, okay? Civil law. Civil law covers those relationships. Tort law is one type of civil law in which we're talking about injury, okay? Wrongful acts that have been committed by one person to another, or one entity to another, or a group of individuals. Wrongful acts that have been committed, and it results in injury. So two types of torts now, okay? There's intentional tort. So this is, for instance, when you know that you are potentially hurting or harming someone, but you cover it up, okay? Or you're dishonest about informing the parties that potentially are in jeopardy or could suffer hurt, harm, or injury, okay? One example of this would be a few years ago, Volkswagen had a real incriminating case where they actually had software inside their vehicles, because in some states, your cars have to be inspected and have to meet certain emission standards. So they actually had software, these sly dogs at Volkswagen, they had software where when the test software was plugged into the vehicle to ensure that its emissions were meeting the regulations for the state of California, it would go to becoming more, again, emission friendly. And then when you unplugged that testing apparatus, it'd go back to the level of efficiency that was set as the default. Okay, so Volkswagen knowingly was not releasing to the public, not releasing to the individuals that were buying it, or to the individuals that were living in the state of California, that it was lying about the emission standards for their vehicles, that they were literally knowingly breaking the law that could cause in some hurt, harm, or wrong being done to the consumer. Okay, so that's intentional tort. Negligent tort is the other category of tort law, and the most famous one here, and this is why I've got hot coffee linked inside of that government schedule document. Okay, I encourage you to watch this. Negligent tort is when you fail to do what an otherwise reasonable person would do, and ultimately results is a wrongful act being committed against the plaintiff, okay? The person that is suffering, the victim, all right? Typically, what you are awarded when it comes down to tort cases is damages, all right? General damages are just pain and suffering. Special damages could be medical expenses, money to cover for work that was lost while you were injured or suffering or incapacitated. You couldn't do what you were normally doing. And then finally, punitive damages are compensation-based fines, practically, applied by the court to try to encourage businesses or individuals to no longer engage in that behavior that could cause hurt or harm, okay? So negligent tort, you accidentally, all right, through your business practice or your own individual actions, you accidentally, unknowingly cause hurt or harm to someone else, okay? But looking back on it, you're challenged by the accuser, by the plaintiff, because you should have known better. You should have known better. A reasonable person would have done otherwise, okay? So it's kind of like the proverbial, in the American judicial system, slap on the wrist. But as you'll see in the Hot Coffee documentary, there are some situations of negligent tort where individuals are looking to take advantage of the system, all right? But there are some situations where individuals who really need to probably get some sort of compensation because of the wrong that was committed to them cannot take advantage of the system because of the individuals that abused the advantages built into the system. So I think you'll find that documentary fascinating. Liebeck v. McDonald's course, or Liebeck, you're going to hear it pronounced both ways, I believe. That's the famous hot coffee case in the early 1990s. Fascinating stuff. Again, you'll be enlightened to find out, some of the facts. Okay, commonplace. We want to assume, old lady spilled coffee on herself. She sued McDonald's, got millions. Oh my gosh, we need to, get rid of this loophole of individuals being able to abuse the system and, take advantage of these big corporations. But ultimately, again, I think you'll find some of the information fascinating. As I stated in the Zoom meeting, understand that everybody's got an agenda for every single piece of material ever pushed out of Hollywood or any documentary ever filmed. Nobody, for the most part, is ever coming at it from the middle of the road. All right, even Tiger King. Okay, even Tiger King comes at you with a certain lean. Okay, Making a Murderer comes at you with a certain lean. So understand there is a lean. The lean is much more heavy towards protecting the consumer or the individual. It's got much more of an activist mindset. This documentary. But nevertheless, I think you'll find it extremely informational in regards to tort law and general civil law, and it dabbles a little bit with some criminal law aspects also. That does it for this third subsection from Section 6, the American judicial system. Next videos that we'll be posting will be covering SCOTUS, the Supreme Court of the United States of America, and our Dorito of Justice, our pyramid, our triangle of hierarchy when it comes to courtroom or legal organization inside of our various levels of government, American court systems. That's it. See you guys later.